Hi, I'm Niyati, and today I'm going to discuss how cinematic rhetoric and emotion can influence a film and its audience. I'm going to break down two of my absolute favorite films, the 1989 film Dead Poets Society, directed by Peter Weir, and the 2007 Hindi language film Taare Zameen Par, directed by Amir Khan. From a first glance, these films have nothing in common. But when we look at the nuances that they both have in their cinematic and narrative techniques, we can understand how both of these films managed to become such successful and compelling narratives in their respective industries and with their respective audiences. So let's start off with Dead Poets Society, which is practically every romantic's Bible. It is a classic, the films to come out of the 80s, and it focuses on a group of young teenage boys at a preparatory school in Vermont. They live in a world of order and tradition, and all of it becomes challenged by the introduction of their new English teacher, Professor Keating. Keating is everything that Welton Academy tries so hard not to be. He indulges in the beauty of poetry and literature. He encourages the boys to engage in free will and step away from the status quo. But what separates it from other films of the decade is that Dead Poets Society makes itself a lot more palatable for its audience. First of all, the film romanticizes academia by taking audiences to the beautiful boarding school in the hills of Vermont. The setting of Welton Academy can often be cold and foreboding, but the film always focuses on this quintessential group of teenage boys, and it places them together on screen in a way that's just an embodiment of unity. Audiences get to fall in love with these characters by seeing a little bit of themselves on screen, even if you're not the type to run into a cave at night and read poetry. Now, Taare Zameen Par also works incredibly well. Translated, it means like stars on the earth. And as a 2007 film made in India, before it dives into its controversial takes on pedagogy, the film starts off seemingly really simple, about an 8-year-old boy, Ishan, who is creative and rambunctious, but he's just a little too much to handle for his Indian parents. So they send him off to a boarding school, hoping that it'll bring in some order and discipline, but instead, Ishan becomes isolated and depressed. The film takes a much darker turn here, and it forces audiences to confront the toxic Indian ideals surrounding academic excellence and mental health. But Taare Zameen Par is smart. It knows it can't just outwardly shame a whole generation of Indian parents. So it uses stars like Amir Khan, who is undoubtedly one of the greatest Bollywood stars of our time. And he is very well known for making socially conscious films. Khan is essentially this film's Mr. Keating, but instead of being a cuddly older man in a tweed jacket, he shows up singing and dancing to these little kids dressed as a clown. And the relationship that takes place between Khan and Ishan allows audiences to understand that Ishan's difficulties in school come from dyslexia. And this is where the film becomes a wake-up call to the tiger parents of India. Taare Zameen Par consistently balances these toxic ideals and these heavy ideas that are never talked about in Indian culture, but it pairs them with comedic relief and catchy Hindi songs, which are a lot more palatable for Indian audiences because they're used to a completely different type of cinema. And that is where the beauty lies in these films. The filmmakers understand their rhetorical situation, and they use that knowledge to appeal to their audiences and make a story that they'll be able to connect to. Both of these films have gone on to be internationally renowned, and they continue to serve as excellent examples of pedagogy in film. And they're also just incredibly sweet. For me, they are the reason why I want to be a filmmaker. If you haven't seen these films, you should absolutely check them out, but please carry tissues because they are massive tearjerkers. And I hope you took something away from this video. Thank you so much for watching.